So it's a very client-focused role that I'm playing at OMD, and part of my responsibility involves guiding and advising our clients on the future of digital marketing and the future of consumer behavior. And another part of my role is obviously to ensure that we are continuing to integrate digital across the rest of the adjacent verticals,
Right.
including content, creative, experiences, performance, data, and at technology. I think it's not just about looking at things across channels as much as it is about understanding how consumers, consume media touchpoints. For them, speaking on behalf of the consumers, they don't really differentiate from one screen to another. They don't
Right.
really refer to traditional channels as traditional channels versus digital channels.
Right.
So there's a lot of, consistency in channels and how consumers are consuming them. And we
Right.
need to take the cue from that perspective and see how can we restructure ourselves as an agency and go back to a client with an integrated solution.
Yeah.
And not just that, also be able to drive a lot of our planning through insights and data and
Right.
go back to a client with a solution that is directly linked to a bottom line for a brand. If you look at the evolution of the digital landscape in the region, obviously social has done a world of good in the overall consumption of digital. However, if you break it down to what's really driving this growth, it all boils down to video. So video
Yeah.
has been the fastest growing property in terms of consumption, in terms of amount of time spent by consumers.
Right.
And this is where we believe that a lot of the conversations or a lot of the directions are now culminating into a holistic video strategy. And that means that from a planning point of view, we no longer look at TV in silos with the rest of the video distribution platforms. So we
Right.
start to look at things from a video neutral planning. So it's a proprietary approach that we came up with as an agency to go back to our clients and
Uh-huh.
establish incremental reach beyond TV, one.
Okay.
And another thing that we talked about up on the stage as part of our panel discussion on video is that there's also a lot of fragmentation happening within the digital video distribution platforms. So
Yeah.
it obviously makes it a lot more complex, a lot more complicated for us to be able to go back to a client
Uh-huh.
with an investment decision that's driven by data and insights and tells them how the money is being allocated across all
Right.
of these digital video platforms.
A lot of people think that there's too much content out there and almost like an information overload. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, completely in disagreement of that statement. On the contrary, because we are coming of an age where this region, lacked original content, in terms of Arabic as a language. So over the last 3 years, the emergence of platforms like YouTube have actually turned a lot of the consumers into broadcasters and publishers of content. And,
Absolutely.
these are good signs for the industry because it obviously means that content becomes the fiber at the back of which consumers spend their time with. And two is it also creates avenues and opportunities for advertisers to blend their own storytelling, their own experiences, their own messages into content that's being contributed by these influencers and content creators. We
Yeah.
talk about the quality of content and the
Yes.
need for regulation.
Yeah.
And along with that, you start to talk about things like brand safety, right? So
Absolutely.
we place
Yeah.
a lot of focus on ensuring that whatever distribution platforms that we are moving our clients into provide an environment for them to play safely. And through the help of technology, we're able to eliminate a lot of those challenges. That's one. The second part of your question is about how do you regulate the space of co-playing with influencers. And in all honesty,
Absolutely.
I think we have achieved different degrees of success on coming up with the engagement index, coming up with frameworks to be able to regulate, at what level do you start working with an influencer, what is expected of an influencer, and how do you measure success when you
Exactly.
co-create content with influencers, and where does the
Absolutely.
responsibility reside in respect to distribution of content that's being produced by these influencers. So
Yeah.
we've done a lot of work in that space, and for us, it all boils down to engagement. So
Yeah.
we go back to our clients and we try to neutralize numbers like followers and likes, because yes, these are important, but with all of the changes taking place on platforms like Instagram, Facebook, from an algorithm point of view, then it no
Absolutely.
longer just means that you need to partner with an influencer that has the highest amount of followership, right?
Absolutely,
So the
yeah.
conversations have now evolved into the quality of an influencer, the
Right.
quality of content, the profile of followers, and how do we mix
Absolutely.
all of these things to match up to what the brand stands for. Look, in all honesty, you can't impose too much as a brand or as an agency onto an influencer, because that
Yeah.
defeats the point for the
Yeah.
content that they stand for. So you need
Yeah.
to, it's a very fine line, and you need to find the right
Absolutely,
sweet
yeah.
spot
Yeah.
between the content needs of a brand versus what a brand, what an influencer stands for. So
Exactly.
I think we just take it on a case-to-case basis, and we try
Right.
not to, impose too much of our direction on what is being produced by influencers. Having
Right.
said that, these influencers have been, are given guidelines to play with, and they know exactly the do's and don'ts of how do they need to co-play with the brand. I think I'm going to take the cue from what I was talking about earlier in the day, which was about digital video, because a lot of the commentary has taken place about moving dollars from the long tail TV channels onto digital video platforms, and one of the challenges that I was alluding towards is lack of standardized practices to how digital video
Absolutely.
is being adopted,
Yeah.
and I feel that it is a collective responsibility as an industry for us to be able to standardize the opportunities that exist across multiple distribution platforms, the need for us to also standardize how success is measured,
Yeah.
and maybe also steer ourselves away from focusing too much on platform-driven metrics
Right.
to focusing on KPIs that drive the growth of our clients. I think that's
Okay.
where it should boil down to.